Once upon a time, in the Jafari kingdom, there was a princess named Muna. She was the most loved child in the entire kingdom. Her parents, the king and queen, adored her more than anything. She had everything she could ever want: beautiful dresses, delicious meals, and the most comfortable bed in the entire palace. But there was one thing she didn't have: freedom. She had never stepped outside the palace gates. The king and queen said it was for her protection, but Muna longed to see the world beyond the tall walls. She wanted to walk through the village, hear the sound of the market, and watch children playing by the river. Most people in the community had never seen her. They only knew she was extremely beautiful and kind. Some even said she looked like a goddess, but no one could confirm it. One day, the palace announced they were hiring new maids. Among the many girls who applied was Ola, a hardworking girl who needed money to treat her sick grandmother. But when the final list of selected maids came out, Ola's name was not there. She was heartbroken. But then, she heard that one of the selected maids had fallen sick. Ola quickly went to her and begged, "Please, let me take your place. I promise we will share the money until you recover." The sick girl agreed, and just like that, Ola entered the palace. Ola worked in the palace laundry, washing and drying clothes. She never got to see the princess, no regular maid did. But one evening, as she was hanging clothes in the laundry area, something unexpected happened. Princess Muna was sneaking out of the palace. She had disguised herself in simple clothes, hoping no one would notice her. But as she turned a corner, bam! She bumped into Ola. Both girls froze. Their eyes went wide. They looked exactly the same. Muna was the first to speak. "Who are you?" "My name is Ola," the girl replied, still in shock. "But how do we look so alike?" "I don't know, but this is amazing," Muna exclaimed. The two girls continued their staring competition for a while as wild thoughts ran through Muna's head. Muna's mind raced with excitement. For the first time in her life, she saw a chance to explore the world. "I have an idea," she said. "We will switch places. You will dress as me and stay in the palace, while I go out as a maid." Ola gasped. "But what if we get caught?" "No one will know," Muna assured her. "You will just have to sit in my room and pretend to be me. And I'll be back before anyone notices." After a moment of hesitation, Ola nodded. And so, the switch began. For days, everything went smoothly. Muna walked freely in the village, seeing new places, meeting new people, and eating food she had never tasted before. Ola, on the other hand, had the softest bed and the best meals she had ever had in her life. She stayed in Muna's room, speaking very little to avoid getting caught. But one day, Muna didn't return. Ola waited. One day. Then 2 days. She began to panic. When the third day came, she couldn't take it anymore. She ran to the king and queen, crying. "Please forgive me," she sobbed. "I am not Princess Muna. We switched places, and now she is missing." The queen gasped. "What do you mean you are not Muna? Where is my daughter?" At first, they didn't believe her. But when the palace guards went searching, they found out the truth. The entire palace was in chaos. The king and queen sent their best warriors to find Princess Muna. They searched every corner of the kingdom, questioning travelers, merchants, and villagers. But there was no sign of her. Meanwhile, Muna was trapped in a dark, cold room in the rival kingdom. She had been kidnapped by warriors who wanted to use her as a bargaining tool against her father, the king. But Muna was not weak. She listened carefully to the guards, observing everything. She learned that the kingdom's strongest warriors had left for battle, which meant only a few guards remained. One night, a kind old woman who worked in the palace kitchen snuck into her room. "You must escape, princess," she whispered. "There is a secret tunnel under this palace. Follow me." Muna's heart raced. This was her only chance. She quietly followed the woman through the dark passage. After walking for what felt like forever, they reached the end of the tunnel. She was free. She ran as fast as she could toward home. Back in the palace, Ola could not stop worrying. Even though she had only known Muna for a short time, she felt a deep connection to her. Then, one day, a group of royal messengers arrived at the palace with a shocking message. An old woman, Ola's grandmother, had passed away. Before she died, she left behind a secret. She had not been Ola's real grandmother. Many years ago, she had found a baby girl abandoned in the forest. The baby was wearing a golden bracelet, the same kind worn by the royal family. That baby was Ola. Ola was the lost princess. The king and queen were in shock. The queen burst into tears. All this time, my child was right under my nose, and I never knew. She hugged Ola tightly. You are my daughter, my sweet Ola. Ola, too, had tears in her eyes. She had always dreamed of having a family, but she never imagined it would be the royal family. Just then, the palace gates burst open. Muna. Everyone turned. Princess Muna was standing there, out of breath and covered in dust. She had made it home. Ola ran to her, and for the first time, they hugged as sisters. We look the same, Muna whispered. That's because we are twins, Ola replied, smiling through her tears. After everything that had happened, the king and queen decided that Muna should no longer be locked inside the palace. They had already lost one daughter once, and they refused to make the same mistake again. However, for her safety, she would always have a few maids and guards with her. Now, Muna and Ola explored the kingdom together. They visited the busy market, where merchants from faraway lands sold colorful fabrics and rare spices. They went to the riverbank, where fishermen sang as they cast their nets. Muna was amazed by the world outside the palace walls. And Ola, who had once been a poor girl, was now a princess with a family who loved her. But even though they were both princesses, they never forgot one thing: they were also best friends. The news of Princess Muna's safe return and the discovery of Princess Ola spread throughout the kingdom. The people were overjoyed. To celebrate, the king and queen announced a grand festival in honor of their daughters. The palace was decorated with golden lanterns, flowers, and colorful banners. Musicians played joyful tunes, dancers performed in the courtyard, and the finest meals were prepared for the entire kingdom to enjoy. But the most beautiful sight of all was Muna and Ola, standing side by side in royal gowns. During the celebration, the king stood before his people. Today, we celebrate the return of our long-lost daughter, Princess Ola, and the bravery of Princess Muna, he announced. From this day forward, our daughters will walk among you, learn from you, and grow with you. No longer will our princesses be locked away. The crowd cheered loudly. As weeks passed, Muna and Ola became inseparable. They visited the community school to inspire children to study hard. They assisted the palace cooks in preparing meals for the poor. They even learned the art of basket weaving from the market women. Muna had finally found her freedom, and Ola had finally found a loving family. Once strangers, they were now more than just sisters, they were best friends. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the two princesses sat together in the palace gardens. Ola turned to Muna with a smile. If we had never switched places, we might have never discovered the truth, Ola said. Muna nodded. And if you hadn't taken the risk to confess everything to the king and queen, I might have never been saved. A quiet moment passed between them before Muna spoke again. We've learned so much, Ola. And I think the greatest lesson is this: we should never be afraid to take a risk for what is right. The truth may be frightening, but it always leads to something good. Ola smiled. And no matter where we come from or what life brings our way, we should always choose kindness, because kindness has the power to change everything. The sisters held hands as they watched the stars twinkle in the night sky. And from that day forward, their story was told for generations, a tale of bravery, truth, and the unbreakable bond of sisterhood.